Patrick, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the month's April meeting of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation to order. Before we get to the minutes, I want to introduce Frank Stento, our new board member. I don't know if you want to make a 20-minute speech, Frank. There's no time, but we're delighted that you're with us. So, anything you wanted to say this morning?
I'll just give a very brief intro, if that's all
Sure,
right.
sure.
A lifelong Binghamton City member, or City of Binghamton resident on the south side with my wife and 4 kids. Currently serve as the Director of Business Development in Western and Central New York for the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. Very active in many different boards. I sit on the Broome Tiger Workforce Development Board, and then I'm also the Vice President of the Binghamton Oneonta Building and Construction Trades Council. I'm here because I love our city. I want to see us continue to thrive and grow. I know the best way to do that is through jobs, through bringing in new industry and infrastructure. And I see that I'm very grateful to be here sitting with you all, because I know that the BLDC plays a big part in that in the city. So I'm grateful for that, and I look forward to working with all of you for years to come.
Welcome. We're delighted to have you. It's great. So, and you'll have fun with this group. Most of the people here are very nice. So, anyway,
We'll let you decide who's
you've got the minutes from the March 24th meeting. I'll accept a motion whenever anyone's ready, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Susan. Do we have a second? Second. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Thank you for that. Rachel, take it away.
We have the March financial report. And we'll start on page 4 with the restricted account. The end of month balance was $1,121,440.71. We will skip to page 6 for the UDAG account. The end of month balance was $1,155,735.34. Looking at page 7 on the UDAG receivables, everyone paid on time except for 142 Court Street, who has since paid. So then we can skip over to the unrestricted account. There's been no activity. Page 9 is the triad account. There's been no activity. Is the veterans account. There's been no activity. And page 11 is the grant account. There's been no activity. Which brings us to the delinquency page on page 12. We have same accounts in default that we had. So the delinquency percentage of all loans not designated non-performing is 0.12. Does anyone have any questions about the receivables or anything?
Very much. Old business. So on the new business, there's a bunch of stuff here. So should I just introduce the resolution? Is that we want to?
I can give a little on the first one. So this is we had talked about how we're advancing advanced application for the downtown revitalization. Once it launches, which we're anticipating will be in the fall. So we went up to bid. I need vendor who could help us do some prep work and help us ultimately put together the application. We selected Barton and Legudis. It was a committee of myself, Patrick, staff from the mayor's office, Grace Doherty, and staff from the planning office, Juliet Burling. Looked through all the proposals and decided that Barton and Legudis was our best choice. We will say all of the applications that came in were excellent. Any one of them would have been a good fit, but Barton and Legudis has been doing some great work for us, and we're working with them again. We do have their proposal here if anybody wants to see it now or after the meeting. Otherwise, I will move to the actual formal resolution.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have a resolution of the Binghamton LDC to authorize the president to enter into an agreement with Barden and Logitas DPC as recommended by the Strategic Priorities Committee for the preparation of the Clinton Street Neighborhood Business District Revitalization Plan. Is there a motion? Mr. Saul, thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you, Susan. Any questions or comments about this? This is going to really be helpful in preparation for that proposal. So,
And I'll just add from a logistics perspective, this resolution although also authorizes us to access the funds. So we did, and Steve, we can get into this if you want to explain, but essentially we moved money from the revolving loan fund, the restricted account essentially, into a different account to be able to pay for this. So the resolution both authorizes us to enter the agreement and authorizes us to use those funds.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, great. Motion carries. Thanks. On to number 2. Did you want to?
Yeah, sure. So this is, we have been talking in the last few months about the, oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the one. I'm going to defer to Steve on this one. This is our yearly agreement.
Yes, this is the standard annual written agreement to cover a portion of salaries done at the BLDC. This will cover all three, a portion of all 3 positions. And with 145,000. Nothing has changed from last year other than resolution it approves. And that's that. Any questions about this?
This is part of the budget that we already approved at the end of last year.
Yeah, this is just the contractual. This allows for the contracts between the city and.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing changed. We've done this for at
Yeah.
least 15 years.
So we have a resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation authorizing the president to execute an agreement with the city of Binghamton to provide economic development services. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Saul. Second? Susan, you're doing great today. Thank you.
Perry, you're in our way here, buddy.
Any comments or questions?
We'll let you in that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And I just want to note that Betsy Kaufman has joined us virtually, so welcome, Betsy. Oh, she, I didn't mean to catch you off guard, sorry.
This one I can't speak.
Okay, this is the facade matching grant program.
Yes, so this is what we've been talking about for the past few months. We finally have an actual program developed and the funds to support it. So we worked this through the Strategic Priorities Committee. earlier.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Not anymore.
Worked this through the Strategic Priorities Committee on Tuesday. So you'll see attached is the actual program. This is subject to review by council, planning, and our code and building department, just to make sure we've covered all of our bases on what's required for our property owners. So this is the general bones of the program. It can be changed by BLDC at any time throughout the agreement. So if we realize something's not working or need to tweak something, we have the ability to do that with this resolution. We also decided at the Strategic Priorities Committee to not focus this on any one area of the city, at least to start. We did identify a number of strategic hubs throughout the city that need this kind of work, but ultimately decided it didn't necessarily make sense to try to pick one over the other when the need is so great across various aspects of the city. So
Okay. So we have a resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation authorizing the adoption of a commercial facade matching grant program. Motion, please.
Before we do that, how much money are we talking about here?
it's $100,000.
100,000. It's our 100,000 and 100,000 from HUD. Is that?
It's $100,000 from the restricted account. So we moved moved a total of $300,000 from the restricted account into 4 uses. 100,000 for the commercial facade grant, 100,000 for the downtown revitalization initiative study, 50,000 for the next resolution, and then another 50,000 that we'll talk about later. We need to hold a special session. Steve looks confused.
Yeah, your resolution for the Barton and Judas is 110,000.
So it's up to 110,000. We had talked about how there's a 10% allowance. So our goal is to spend no more than 100,000, but we wanted to have the resolution authorized up to 110 because per our conversation, you can do up to a 10% change without needing to go back to the amendment.
Where's the funding for that coming from?
So that we would have to come back and get additional funds. We wouldn't need
Okay.
to go out. So it's just the resolution authorizes up to that amount. The
Okay,
goal is to spend no more than
We
100,000.
don't expect it's gonna actually be that.
okay, because if it does, we'll have to do another 30, we have to do an amendment to the action plan, because the amendment to the current amendment to the action plan is only the 300. So if you want to get an additional 10,000, we would have to amend the action plan as well. It's possible HUD would say it's small enough that we don't. I
Okay.
can check with them. But
Yeah,
yeah.
is it an
that's-
issue for it to say? I mean, we can make it say 100,000 if that's, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I didn't know it was gonna be above the 300 total.
As long as we don't spend it, it doesn't become an issue.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll just check with HUD. It might be minor enough that they're okay with it.
Okay, yeah, we're super flexible. I just did that because I thought we had a 10% allowance on either side before we had to go back and get an amendment.
Okay.
That's my misunderstanding. I apologize.
So where were we? We just have to vote?
Yes.
I only have like a 3-second attention span, so do you want me to read the motion to the resolution again, or we don't need to, we'll just a motion for resolution 22-5. Thank you, Ron. Susan, you're great. We have a second. Any more comments or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Last one is the SBB 607 Step Up Grant Program. Sarah, you want to describe this briefly?
So we had talked about how we wanted to increase our support for minority and women-owned businesses through the BLDC this year. One way we identified to do that is to work with the existing SBB 607 accelerator program. That's the Support Black Business 607 accelerator program designed specifically for burgeoning Black-owned businesses and Black entrepreneurs who are looking for support to build their businesses. They have an existing grant program. When you graduate from the SBB 607 accelerator program, you're eligible for a $2,000 grant. What we've developed is a step-up grant. So after you receive your initial $2,000, spend it, show that you have used that towards growing your business, you can then come to the BLDC and request up to an additional $5,000 to further your business endeavors. So what we've done here is identified the eligible uses, which include the original eligible uses through the grant program, and as well as some additional options that we deemed would be appropriate given the prizes that we give for the BLDC, accounting services, legal services, website design services. We also put an option for the BLDC to approve expenses outside of that amount in case there's something that comes in that makes sense to support a business and we want to be able to provide funding for that.
Call you later. Stephanie Kuhmanacre, so you don't put her on hold often.
Per, do you want to add anything about this?
No, I mean, we love this because I think we need to support this business group as much as possible. And we just started this program last year. We were able to secure grants, we can give them funding. And if that's a step up after that, I mean, this is for us is awesome. The more we can offer, the more more people we can get through the program, I think.
We have two businesses that have actually come through our business plan competition who are either in process or previous recipients of the $2,000 from this program. So we're excited to see their business plans when those come in for the competition as well.
Is the program exclusively for Black-owned businesses or any minority business?
So it's any business that goes through the Support Black Business 607 cohort, which right now I believe is exclusively Black-owned businesses. The idea is that over time, we're going to build out our capabilities either through this program or a different program to support minority and women-owned businesses more generally. This was just an easy way to enter that world because there's an existing program we can tag onto.
If there's a racial or ethnic restriction there, you can't pay for it with CDBG.
Okay,
You could do a minority business type thing, I believe, but you couldn't do one that's specifically one group and excludes others.
how do we move
You
forward
expand the
with
program
this?
to all minorities.
Well, so right now it's only if you graduate from the specific program.
Which
and-
restricts it on that end, yeah.
Right. So it's not us making the decision, it's the program that they graduate from.
We ran through this with another project and HUD said you can't restrict like that. I don't know.
do we need to table the resolution, or can we pass it and then it's all pending legal approval anyway?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then maybe we can work with that agency and that program to see if there's any sort of wiggle room we can work with on that.
Okay, and it's something where maybe we could look at the program to say, hey, one path is coming through
Yeah.
SBD 607 and another path is going through the SBDC or other business development programs that would prepare you to move forward with the business.
I guess the question would be, what does that program provide to the businesses, and where else could that be simulated or whatever?
Yeah, and it's a 4-week program that goes through basic business skills, business plan development, business model canvas, projections, what to do in terms of I would say similar things. EAP 60-hour course. It's just more hands-on and tailored towards a specific support Black business 67 group. So yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't put anything in our program that restricts other minorities from going
Oh.
through it, but the recruiting happens through the SB 607 Facebook group.
Okay.
That's where most of the recruiting happens.
All right. So maybe we can just look at that and see if there's some way
Yeah.
of like
So you're-
expanding it even through some simple marketing.
So your program doesn't exclude it?
It doesn't exclude anyone
Okay,
really.
so-
Okay.
Okay, so I think that,
It should answer the question.
Yeah.
because if they're coming in through there, and that doesn't exclude, and they graduate and come to us, that seems like it works.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
they've at least gone through something to get to us.
Yeah, I think that I'll just, we
Yeah,
can
we
talk
can
about it
double check
after
with
and
legal.
see what we.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna
We're gonna-
approve this
Yes,
contingent on this issue, so.
right, because we already have language in here that allows us to have this subject to legal approval.
Okay.
So regarding motion 22-6, is there a motion?
I don't think I should vote. Should I vote?
Yeah, I think you
I
could.
will.
Conflict of interest.
Okay. Ron makes the motion. Do we have a second? Susan, you're just, you
The one
get,
good
Yeah,
punch
but-
of Ron and Susan.
we're gonna give you a pin. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? Thank you. I think this is great, and it was really good that you got this moving so quickly. I think it's really gonna make a difference. Moving on, there's a conflict of interest disclosure in your packet. I don't know.
Yeah, so we have Empire State Development funding to support our entrepreneurial assistance program that runs through Darlene Canuck's group, but the money flows through the BLDC. One of the things that I have to sign is just any consultants they work with, ensuring that there's no conflict of interest with the board. So these are the companies that are being funded through this grant at this point that I've got to sign off on. So you can see the language here about what the specific restrictions are. So if anybody has any restrictions for any of these businesses,
They should,
basically just let me know.
they should let you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've all got this in your packet. The list of businesses is there. I won't go through them, but
And I have to submit those tomorrow. So if you're able to let me know today, that would be helpful.
okay, over on the next page, how to read both numbers. Number 6 is Strategic Priorities Committee Report, and I'm going to pass that back to you, Sarah.
Yeah, of course. So strategic priorities, was supposed to be last week, but in light of the storm, we moved it to this week. So we reviewed the 3 programs presented today. We're launching the commercial facade program generally throughout the city, as we previously discussed. Both of these programs can have the provision that allow them to be revised over time if it becomes necessary to do so based on the realities of the program, understanding that we're launching these things fresh. The other thing that we had talked about was our loan programs. I know we've talked about this for our past few meetings. Working very closely with Susan and Patrick to determine how we can be more flexible in our loan programs to increase the number of loans we're making and be able to support more businesses. Especially as we see interest rates rise in the private sector, we're looking to see that we may have more interest in our loan programs. So how can we meet businesses where they're at and be able to be flexible in our loan programs? Specific to the scenarios each business has, making sure that they are financially solvent, able to pay us back, have significant cash flow, but not necessarily holding them all to the exact standards that we've always laid out of. We only fund up to 40%. Our interest rate is 3/4 of prime. Being able to be flexible based on individual projects. We're working that through the finance committee with and we talked about strategic priorities.
Thank
You're
you.
on.
All right.
Graham, you're on.
We'll do it live. Thanks, everyone. Good morning. First of all, I want to thank Frank for joining the team here. I've got to know Frank a little bit over the last several months. I think his addition to the BLDC to represent, the building trades is going to be fantastic. I think that it may be a, kind of a missing piece in local development that's been absent for some time. I think, frankly, we're starting kind of a new era of partnership and collaboration with our building trades at City Hall, which I'm really excited about. And, Frank is a Binghamton guy, BHS class of 99 or 90 something. But I think it's really exciting, and I look forward to working together. And thanks for helping out here. Just another kind of couple updates in terms of what I've been thinking about in terms of economic development like the last month or so. We continue to monitor the influx of information regarding cannabis, right? Coming from the state of New York. OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, is moving very slowly, but it's very clear that there is interest from large corporations, from small entrepreneurs in New York State and in the city of Binghamton, dealing with cultivation, retail sales, et cetera. I've worked with Sarah in the planning department to put together some draft zoning language, because in order for a business to operate, they need to be zoned properly. We're waiting for a review, kind of a webinar that Coughlin and Gerhardt's putting on sometime later in May to answer kind of some of our final questions. But my intent is to release that map in draft form sometime probably in the end of May to start getting feedback on what's happening. As it relates to cannabis in Binghamton, I think that we need to think about it on multiple levels. Certainly the retail sales will be, everything is licensed by the state. Retail sales, we will be a leader in, I think, in that, but also there's been substantial interest in the industrial / cultivation aspect. I think that the Charles Street Business Park, on the land that's available there, is very attractive to out-of-town companies looking to build new, to have tens of thousands of square feet of production space, cultivation space. So all of the cannabis that is sold in New York State has to be grown, cultivated, packaged in New York State. So there's a lot of different opportunities there. So as it becomes available, whether it's through land that the BLDC owns or other business support, I don't believe that we'll be able to give them any BLDC loans because of some of the federal requirements, but that's okay. I think it's really kind of an exciting time. The other couple things I want to mention is the Clinton Street revitalization plan. This will be great, not just for application to the DRI, but to help to guide the infrastructure, the public investment that's going to be happening in the Clinton Street business corridor. I spoke about it at other meetings. I spoke in public about it. I think that that's the next big opportunity for development in the city. And having this really well thought out plan will make us very competitive for that $10 million in state money and a host of other grants we can apply for through economic development initiatives, even infrastructure initiatives. We could get millions of dollars to upgrade the stormwater infrastructure on Clinton Street, which could then lead to walkability upgrades and street plantings, et cetera. So I think that that's a really great thing, and I thank the BLDC for their support. Lastly, just a bit of an update on Boscov's. No real material change since the last meeting. They're continuing to develop their sort of list sources and uses to take to the state of New York regarding their pending grant request. We've been clear about the city support for the project. They've been very realistic, I think, to date in terms of understanding what the state would like to see. And we will encourage them to continue to be more realistic as it relates to the state money that could potentially come in. So they've got, I think, 1 or 2 more meetings with some of our county officials left to do before this gets into the weeds with New York State on that proposal. As I've stated before, I would love nothing more than for Boscov's to own that building, to have the city and the BLDC get out of the landlord business, and to have it coupled with some state investment and some private investment by Boscov's that will keep them in that building for the long term. They're in immediate need of HVAC upgrades, building envelope upgrades, as well as a lot of other things. And I will remind this group that if Boscov's vacates the store, we all become owners of it, the BLDC. So I'll give Ron the keys.
Lost the audio here.
Did it close out? Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I hear you again. I hear you again.
Okay, perfect. If again, if we lose a store, we will be in ownership of a building that's in bad need of renovation. That would require millions of dollars just to begin a conversation with an end user. We already have the end user right now. We got to work as hard as we can to keep them. Next month will be business plan competition. Latest. Okay.
We will have the oral presentations for the business plan competition at the end of the month, May 25th.
Okay.
Over at the Continent Theater, courtesy of the Binghamton University and the entrepreneurial Paris program.
Okay. That's all the remarks I had today. Again, I thank everyone for their support and as well as getting some dollars that were sitting idle out the door. And I thank Sarah for her work on these three initiatives that were before the BLDC today.
Any update on the Water Street project?
It's if you see it's getting down to the end, and Chuck probably may have the latest, but if you go over there's not much of the garage left.
It's slow. Let's just leave it that way. We got to get the floor out of there so we can start testing the pile caps, and that's the next hurdle.
It looks, it's amazing to see it, difference. All right, any questions for the mayor? Thank you, sir. Yep. Sarah, did you have anything else you wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
great.
always have things to say. I'd also like to welcome Frank. We're really excited to have you. Workforce is really the next piece of the puzzle that we need to be working towards as a board and as a city. So really excited to have your expertise and weigh in on some upcoming investments we want to make in ways that we can better connect workforce development, and especially our building trades. Such a key sector, as we've seen throughout the last 2 years, with the increased demand for work in the building trades and the lack of supply that's there. So how can we bolster that industry and ensure that create more pathways to employment and increase our supply of qualified folks in the area? That'll be a really, really key role for you to play, Frank. So we'll definitely be in conversation. Couple of things that we did in the past few months. So the BLDC is now the proud sponsor of the First Friday Preservation Association of the Southern Tier Trolley Tour. So for $120 a month, we are funding the driver for the trolley. We felt that a $720 investment over a 6-month period was well worth the money to be able to connect patrons of First Friday with all of the different venues, give them an opportunity to get back together. We haven't had the trolley for a number of years. They've also got some exciting things that they want to do. They want to be able to let the BLDC talk about projects that we have going on, highlight advancements that are going on in the city. They've invited the mayor to give a tour on one of the trolleys.
I'll be doing a Jungle Cruise style satirical tour, but anyway.
A really good opportunity to get the BLDC name out there, show people that we're invested in the community, and really support the revival of First Friday now that we're coming out of the pandemic and can all get together again, especially with the construction that's happening on State Street. It's more important than ever to support our galleries and Artists Row, ensure that people know that those businesses are open and people can go visit them. So we're really excited about that. We've also agreed this year to fund the landscaping on Washington Street. So for the past few years, a private business owner has funded the landscaping on gorgeous Washington Street. This year, that private business owner decided not to do so. And that information came out a little bit late. So the business owners weren't able to coordinate to be able to pay for that. We've agreed to pay for that this year. It's $5,000 investment. We're going to spend the next few months working with those business owners to figure out how we fund that in the long term. whether it's through contributions from individual businesses, that they work to get sponsors, to really keep that landscaping up and keep up the beauty of Fortis Washington Street as we've come to know it. Also working with Ron and the Downtown Binghamton Business Owners Association to see how we can expand that investment. Can we increase the landscaping on Court Street as you come out of Fortis Washington Street? And as we see different businesses come in on Court Street, as we know, there's some potential construction at the corner of Court and State. The old CVS building is for sale. So we're looking to see some new investment there. And we're hoping that those businesses that come in will want to contribute to the beautification of that area as well. But so this year, we're helping out with the plan that long-term, it won't be something that we pay for, but that the business owners will contribute to and be part of the beautification of downtown. As an update on the business plan competition, so we got 11 applications through the first round where they had to submit an executive summary. We invited all 11 to come back and submit a business plan with some strategic questions laid out to people that had some gaps in their application. To date, we've received one. We know at least one other is coming in, and we've had, we extended the deadline because we extended the deadline for the initial executive summary. So we extended the deadline out for the business plans themselves to give folks some more time. And we anticipate that we'll get a number of other applications. Likely not all 11 will submit for the full business plan, but we should get a healthy cohort to be able to put forward to the judges. So we're looking forward to that. As an update on the Bates Troy option that was approved at the last meeting, as we've discussed today, all of our resolutions are subject to legal approval. So we've been working with Corporation Counsel and determined a number of things in that option that don't work for the city. So we're looking to things. We haven't come to a final option yet to resubmit to the board, but we're anticipating that we'll do so in May. And that will just be an update in the terms, the way it was originally written. Put the BLDC at a significant financial risk in terms of what we had to pay for if certain things happened. And part of that is on me for getting up to speed and not quite having all the information I needed, but working with council has been great. And we're excited to get it over the finish line in a way that makes sense for both the BLDC and the business owners. We will bring that forward. We are also, if you can see in the UDAG account, you'll see that there's property maintenance costs every month. So that's one thing that we're going to be looking at over the next 2 months is how can we decrease our monthly property maintenance costs. All that was for the winter was plowing the pump stations and the power plant. And it was between $1,000 and $2,000 a month. It's a small expense in the short term, long term very much starts to add up. So we're looking at ways that we can decrease our exposure on that as well. And then one piece of, I won't call it bad news, but it is going to be another ask on your time. So the last 50,000 of the allocation that we took from the restricted account, the revolving loan fund, that is going to be allocated to planning. We did not get the resolution together in time. So we need to have a very, very brief special meeting next week. We should be able to do it virtually based on the way the public meetings law has been extended for virtual option. Should be a 5 to 10 minute meeting, but Rachel's going to work with you to get your availability to jump on a call, approve that really quickly so that Juliet and the planning department can have access to those funds to move forward. It's a vendor to do historic preservation design guideline.
Updating
Yeah.
the guidelines, yeah.
I think that's all for me unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of good stuff going on. Anything further for the board this morning?
I have one item. I've already talked with Sarah a little bit about it, but New York State has adopted regulations about open meetings law. That's going to affect city council. It's going to affect this body. It's going to affect everybody, public body. They're really pushing people back towards having in-person meetings and not being able to do the remote meetings anymore. So sort of the highlights, you have to pass local standards. Each body has to adopt standards. We'll be working with, trying to do a draft policy that's for all the boards will have to adopt about when you can attend virtually. But it is special circumstances is the name of it, is what the term that they use, and it's disability, sickness, caregiving. There's very limited circumstances in which someone can actually use the remote option or participate in the meeting by option. It requires you to have a quorum present in this location or wherever that body meets to conduct a meeting. So we can't have a quorum through this, through remote participation. And it does say that if you are participating remotely, you must have your camera on and your screen, you must be visible and audible at all times. So that there's no. If you attend some city council meetings, you'll see those blank screens a lot. You can't do that and you see other bodies doing that as well. So that's coming down. The original law, we had 60 days to adopt a local law, to adopt the policies doing that, allowing that. It's now probably about 45 days. The way that works is that if it's not done by that deadline, you can't use this type of technology until you have adopted it. So you have additional time beyond that time to get it done, but there's a gap, and so next week is just fine. But
Yeah, very shortly, we will not be.
the main reason I'm bringing it up is we should all prepare to get used to being, we need to be here. We're not going to participate remotely anymore.
Isn't there some language that says you can vote if you're remote, but it doesn't count?
No, not really.
I read that somewhere.
The other thing though that is in the end is that if there is another state of emergency declared, then you sort of revert back to what the policy is now.
This is kind of what you said, though. You have to have a quorum here, so. you
Right.
vote,
Yeah,
so it
exactly.
doesn't count.
So it's just another sign that we're sort of coming out of a pandemic, and so it's just something to get back to. You, but we've all grown so used to it over the last year, 2 years, 3 years almost. Exactly. So
We'll be
that
asking Jared to declare a state of emergency every fourth Thursday from 9
I
to
think
10.
it's a gubernatorial
After last week, I don't want to do any more of those.
Exactly. So I just thought you'd all want to know that you'd be prepared for that, so it doesn't catch you by surprise.
Thanks, Brian, appreciate that.
Anything else? All right, motion to adjourn. So, thank you, Mr. Saul. Second. Frank. Way to go, Frank. Terrific.
Yeah, good.
All in favor.
Sorry I was late.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe and Betsy. Cool.
Welcome aboard.
Hey, Ron, grab my papers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have one, so I'm sure-
Yeah.